What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Blazers Uprise Postgame show. The Blazers have lost their fourth straight game. This time it comes against their rivals, the Los Angeles Lakers. This was another frustrating game in a series of matchups in which the Portland Trail Blazers can't beat a winning team, basically. It started with that home loss to Washington, which is a team playing better, and then they go on the road and lose all three games of their three-game road trip against the Suns, against a banged-up Denver Nuggets team, and against a banged-up Los Angeles Lakers team that had lost four straight going into this game, including a 26-point loss against the Utah Jazz, a loss against the Washington Wizards. This was not a Laker team playing well whatsoever, in the Blazers just can't get anything going offensively. Defensively, they hold the Lakers to 102 points. You would say that's a pretty good job, but it wasn't even competitive down the stretch. The Blazers could not get anything going offensively, and that'll be the main critique for this game. I am very, very ashamed with the way we played offense tonight. On a nationally televised stage, our offense was an absolute joke tonight. If you guys follow me on Twitter, shout out if you follow me and Eric on Twitter, at TorreyJonesYT for me, at Hoopshock for Eric. Our name tags below our faces have our Twitter handles if you want to go follow us. But hopefully you guys got a little bit of amusement out of the three video clips I posted of our offense. And that was only during like a 3-minute stretch, Eric. It wasn't like, I searched through the game for the worst possessions. No, that was like pretty much back to back to back. And my goodness, our offense was an absolute joke. Hopefully you got some amusement out of those Twitter clips, because my goodness, did we have some horrible possessions. And basically it just comes down to a dereliction of duty from Terry Stotts in regards to this offense. Right? We're obviously a far more talented offensive team than defensive team, no matter if we have injuries or not. So we have to outscore teams, especially if, we have a game like we did tonight. We hold the Lakers to 102 points. Okay? We should be winning that game. If we have any sort of decent offensive system, we should be winning that game even if we don't make shots. But my goodness, man, the offense that we saw throughout this game was absolutely ridiculous. And I don't know, Eric, I'll let you go in on this, but it's extremely frustrating. Here's basically what the offense looks like to me. The offense looks like not just rat ball, but just the sets that they run. It looks like a bunch of running around the perimeter. Guys run around the perimeter, take dribble handoffs, pass around the perimeter. Nothing is ever towards the hoop. The only way you'll ever get any movement with this offense towards the hoop is if somebody is dribble driving. That's it. That's the only way you'll ever get any sort of action towards the rim in this offense. And I tweeted out during the second quarter, just pay attention to the guys off the ball and how they just stand around. And it's just disgusting. It's not fun to watch. And against a competent team, it doesn't work. And especially when you don't have a guy like CJ who you can rely on to just give the ball and he'll make something out of nothing. You don't have a guy like that. So there's less of an excuse to play offense like that, in my opinion. But my goodness, the past 4 games has been the worst stretch in terms of the style of our offense that I've ever seen. As a Blazer fan, man, it's disgusting. I don't even know how to put it into words how just disgusting our offense was in this game. And I'm not talking about, it's not just a missed shots thing. It's the types of shots we were getting and the way we were running our offense.
Our shot selection was one of the worst games I've ever seen in my life in terms of shot selection from like our secondary players. I tweeted out several times like, that was a horrible shot by this person. That was a horrible shot by this person. Oh, that was even worse than the last two, like that kind of thing. Like Rocco taking a logo 3 with 2 guys on him. Like, I don't understand. Like, it just Melo twice dribbled the ball up with no rebounders down and shot like a 20-foot contested shot instead of attacking the basket. Trent had some horrible shots in this game. We only scored 36 points in the second half. And so all you need to know about the Blazers strategy on offense, when they started picking or double teaming Dame, and especially in the third quarter, they were doing it a lot. We continued to run the high pick and roll, which is like the absolute worst thing you can do. But Tori, there were 2 plays after they started double teaming. This was like the 5th or 6th time they had doubled, where we set the pick with Derrick Jones Jr. Do you know who was guarding Derrick Jones Jr.?
Who? That was kind of
LeBron James.
Yeah.
We brought the screener that LeBron was guarding to double team Dame. We brought him to the ball. We didn't set him away from the ball or send him to the hoop so Derrick Jones dragged LeBron out of the play. This was our strategy, Tori, to bring LeBron James right to Damian Lillard to trap him. That happened multiple times in the third quarter. Like, no competent coach would ever even think about doing that, let alone actually have that be a strategy on the court.
You know what baffles me, Eric, is you have all these people out here, and what do they say? They say, we don't have the personnel to be able to exploit Dame when he gets trapped off the pick and roll, right? Then why do we put Dame in a position to get trapped off the pick and roll?
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Logically, think this through, okay? In the mind of a pro Stotts person, okay? Let's think this through, okay? They legitimately think there's nothing we can do when Dame gets trapped, and we're screwed when that happens, right? How? And then here's what I'll ask him. I'll say, why are we running Dame off screens near half court where he gets trapped and in a tough position if we don't have the personnel to exploit it? Why are we doing that in the first place? Oh, well, we're a good pick and roll team. And it's like, wait, so we have good pick and roll personnel, we are a good pick and roll team, but we also don't have the personnel to be able to deal with a defense trapping the pick and roll? You can't have it both ways. It's a contradiction. Like I say all the time, so many of the talking points are just so contradictory, okay? If we can't exploit the trap, okay, if they're doing a good job trapping Dame and they're shutting down our offense, where's the adjustment? Where is the adjustment? Bro, Stotts does not adapt to anything. We could run pick and roll at half court 10 times in a row and turn over the ball 10 times in a row, and they get a wide open dunk off the turnover 10 times in a row, and we'll keep doing it. We will keep doing it. There's no adjustments. Stotts doesn't have anything offensively anymore that he can fall back on. I say anymore because, it's always been pretty bad, but it hasn't been this bad. Somehow it's gotten worse. Because, bro, it's like they are trapping the pick and roll, we're struggling with it, and our alternative is to run sets, which are literally just a bunch of guys running at 50% around the arc, handing the ball off to one another, just passing the ball around the arc, standing there looking at each other's, or the movement is like, okay, we'll run from one corner around the arc to the other corner, and somebody will kind of lightly jog baseline, not even option to replace the other corner, and we'll just run in a circle. Bruh, that is our answer to Dame getting trapped, is to run more pick and roll into the trap and still not exploit it, and then run in a damn circle. It's so amateurish, and it's so frustrating. It's so sad. It's so sad. It's depressing, man. Shout out K-Swerve, $1 donation, appreciate it. It's so sad, man, because you got Dame here who's just balling his ass off. He looked like he might have gotten seriously hurt in the first half. He's still here in the second half trying to ball his ass off, but he doesn't have, the same burst, right? Because he had a leg injury. But we're still like, okay, Dame, here's a pick and roll. Try and split the trap and then beat the third guy, all on your own. Or Dame, please isolate and blow by guys. We know you're kind of a little nicked up right now, but we can't do anything to make things any easier on you than to just give you the ball and have you make something out of nothing. No structure, no sets. If we run a set, it's going to end with you with the ball with 7 on the shot clock anyway, because none of the movement is meaningful or attacks the rim or gets guys into spots to do anything other than isolate or run a pick and roll. It's so disgusting. It's so disgusting. And I don't know how somebody could watch what we're doing offensively and not have at least some sort of criticism for the way this team is being coached. How can you watch a game in which we run the offense the way we did tonight and just be like, oh, nothing Stotts can do. We have to run our offense this way, where there's no sort of sets that we can come up with. It's ridiculous, man.
This is the most frustrating part to me. The first few minutes of this game, we played exactly like we have been begging them to play. Mm-hmm. They moved the ball on offense. They played great defense, forced them into some tough shots, and that for the most part, they weren't hitting them. We missed some shots out of that, but it was fine. We cleaned a good look after that. But that's, once again, it's not about making shots. It's about running the offense the right way and getting good shots, which we were doing the first few minutes in the game. And then, once again, inexplicably, oh, something's working. Great. Let's just go completely away from that and go back to the old style and not do the game, especially when they start ramping up the pressure. Let's definitely not go back to moving the ball like we did in the first half.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It just doesn't make sense.
The argument that I hate especially is that these guys are incapable of making basic reads and basic passes. They wouldn't have gotten to the NBA if they didn't know how to make a basic read and a basic chest pass, right? And here's the thing. A good offense, right? If you don't have like good passers or playmakers on the court, a good offense still gets good player movement and ball movement by simplifying things in a productive way, right? Our offense has been simplified in a way that's not productive at all, because basically it simplifies down to, okay, somebody's catching the ball on the perimeter and has to create one-on-one to make anything happen. Rodney Hood, Carmelo Anthony, Gary Trent Jr., Anthony Simons, Damian Lillard. I mean, how many times do we see that? And then, okay, well, Gary Trent Jr. shoots a contested 3, and you'll have some pro Stotts people out here say, oh, a terrible shot by Gary, nothing Stotts can do, right? It's just ridiculous. It's always something to excuse the coaching, but you simplify things in a way where it's like, okay, in this set, you have the ball here, all right? You have this cutter, okay? You either deliver the ball to the cutter, or here's your next option to keep the set moving, right? You simplify things. So they have 2 reads, all right? Oh, maybe you have Nas curling off a screen towards the hoop. A very foreign concept for us as Trailblazer fans. But, you have the ball on one wing. On the other wing, you have Nas curling off a screen towards the hoop. And it's like, okay, Gary, you either hit him as he's curling, throw a bounce pass around your guy, or, maybe Dame follows Nasir Little and curls off to the three-point line, and you hit Dame, and maybe he has an open shot. Okay? Bro, players on this team can do that. They are not incapable of making a basic read and throwing a basic bounce pass to a cutter. People act like these players are so incapable of basketball that it's literally a damn rec league team. You put me out there, bro, I might not be able to deal with somebody clouding my space and ball pressure, but, it's not like they were, doing that. I could make a simple bounce pass around a guy to a cutter. It's basic basketball. These guys grew up on doing that type of stuff. So saying that they're incapable as NBA players to deliver a basic bounce pass around their defender to a cutter and make a basic read or decide between 2 options is absolutely ridiculous, and it's insulting to the players. It's insulting to, common knowledge as basketball fans. Yeah, bro, it's so ridiculous, man. And you got clowns like Dan Marang that'll go out there and act like that, but he doesn't know. He's never played basketball, so he don't know. He know what I mean? He doesn't. He truly. You have a lot of people out here that truly think these players are that incapable, and it's disgusting to me.
And if they are truly that incapable, isn't it the job of their coach to come up with a way to make them capable? Like, you should see improvement throughout the season, right? It might be one thing if at the beginning of the season you're not running certain plays because certain players don't handle that, but that can't be the excuse, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 games into the season, and then into the playoffs, you're still running this. I mean, anyone who tells you it's the players and they can't do anything about it as a coaching staff is full of crap, because if that was the case, if the players are being coached, you would see slight improvement throughout the year, and you wouldn't have that excuse in the playoffs, like why we play this way still. I mean, we played this exact same way against the Lakers in the playoffs last year. So, like, there's no reason why at the end of the season we can't at least, like you said, instruct these guys to do basic things and run a basic set. There's just no excuse for that. But I was also told you have to have basically a Hall of Famer at every position too to actually pass the ball around or something like that. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, without 3 Hall of Famers, man, we can't make these basic. Bro, every other team in the league does it, but we can't because our roster is just that much more incapable of everyone else's. Bro, here's the thing, and here's my proof for it, bro. Even when we had a Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, Evan Turner, Yusuf Nurkic combination on the court, which passing-wise I would say is very, very good, we still played the same exact way. The same exact way.
Let me get to some donos real quick. K-Swerve had a $5 dono, said, first dono messed up, but if Stotts coaches this team, having CJ and Nurk won't make a difference. The only difference that makes is CJ is capable of, in a game like this, just going one-on-one and scoring like crazy, and that's not the right strategy to win.
He can bail out a terrible offense.
He can bail out.
Yeah. And then people will say, it's like, because CJ could bail out a terrible offensive setup and a terrible offensive structure, somehow Stotts gets excused for having a terrible structure since he doesn't have CJ to bail it out. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. Appreciate the dono from K-Swerve. Shout out Saggy Squid. To Australian dollar dono. He says, Ant, Nas, 3 shots combined makes sense. I mean, those guys struggle to create on their own. So in an offense which basically requires, somebody to create something out of nothing on every possession, those guys will struggle to get shots. So that's what you see there.
So I tweeted this out too. The first, I think it was like 5 or 6 possessions. So we had like a 2-man game going between like either Hood and Mello or Ant and Mello, and the other 3 players were on the far side of the court, literally just standing there like.
Eric?
Oh, there goes up a shot.
Wait. Re-say that. You cut out, and it wasn't me muting you. Go ahead and re-say that, because, yeah, you definitely, like, Skype cut out or something.
No, I paused. That was me. I was frozen like a statue, because that's what they were doing.
Oh, my bad. I completely ruined that. I don't have, like, my streaming software up, so I'm like, Eric? Hello?
Nope, I was pausing like a statue. I was imitating what our offense is. And that's why... Like,
you would think I'd be used to it by now, yeah.
Blockboy says Ant sucks, and people probably think Nas sucks and all this stuff. We don't do anything. They literally just stood around and watched as we took ISO shot after ISO shot and tried to post someone up. And the Lakers were double teaming Melo, and we still just stood all next to each other so 2 guys could guard 3 guys on defense for the Lakers. And it's just crazy. It's just absolutely inexcusable, like, most elementary mistakes and just like the most basic things. It's so frustrating. And then you follow that with seeing it actually work in the first quarter and like being like, wow, this team is playing really well. Like this is great. Like maybe this is something we can build on in the post-game show. We'll be talking about how finally they had a game plan and it worked and they were passing the ball and it was great. And then it's like a minute later, it's like, nope, right back to the same old crap the whole rest of the game. Yep. We do not put our players in a position to do well. We win in spite of that. It's just ridiculous.
It's like, if somebody's not a great isolation player, Blazer fans end up thinking they suck offensively, right? Unless they're a phenomenal spot-up shooter, right? That Blazer fans think they suck. But when Seth Curry was here, we didn't utilize him anywhere near as well as we could have, right? You know what I mean? And people were like, almost all season, they were saying Seth Curry's overrated. Why did you like this pickup? He's not that good. And then he had some moments in the playoffs and people started to like him. But you remember how many Blazer fans were saying Seth Curry was trash? And it was literally because he wasn't a good, like, one-on-one scorer. and he wasn't getting many shots, And then look, he goes to Dallas, phenomenal. He goes to Philly, phenomenal. Because those teams know how to utilize guys that, are different than ISO first players. We have a lot of isolation heavy players on this team, so I guess that's a roster construct. But even when we didn't, we still played that way. Even when we had Evan Turner. How many times do you see Evan Turner go one-on-one in isolation and try and score because the offense had nothing going? How many times do you see Mario Hezonja last year kind of just like with the ball up top and just like not knowing what to do because everybody's just kind of standing around looking at him, and then he'd try and go make a play and it would be terrible and everybody would be like, oh, Mario, you suck. But it's like, what is he supposed to do? I guess pass to, I don't know, Nasir Little, and then hopefully Nasir Little can go one-on-one. But that's not really his game yet, so that when Nasir Little goes one-on-one and doesn't really get something to fall, then you have Blazer fans saying, oh, well, Nas sucks too. Our whole roster just sucks. Because you put a bunch...
can't play anyone.
Yep, Stotts can't do anything. All these guys suck because these guys aren't phenomenal in isolation. There's a lot of Blazer fans out there that got so used to having Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum on their team that that's what they expect good offensive players to be able to consistently do, right? That is a lot of people's qualification for a player being good offensively in their eyes is what can they do one-on-one, okay? A lot of players function well in certain roles within an offense. You got to utilize certain players differently. You look at like a Derrick Jones Jr. How many design cuts do we have for him? None. How many games have we seen him kind of parked in the corner? A lot. At least he cuts a lot out of freelance, but we don't have a single design cut for him. Bro, like, we never had a single design cut for Aminu, for Harkless, for Hezonja, for any of these guys. For Little. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, well...
Heck, even Melo could cut if you told him to. Like, what I mean? Like, get him a backdoor cut and get a lay-in,
And there's a reason why I'm not criticizing Melo for all his, isolation-heavy stuff. I'll tweet out, like, I don't like that shot from Melo and whatnot, but it's obviously just, at this point, so pervasive. Like, the ISO-heavy play is so pervasive to everyone that it's like I'm not even going to really criticize individual players for it. And that's why I haven't really been doing the graphics. Because it's just such a bad style play as a team, and it affects everybody, and it's such a team-wide issue.
Yep, you can't really blame one person, other than the coaching. But it's just... And then people wonder, like, oh, well, Rocco can't hit a shot, or Trent can't hit a shot, or whatever. It's so rare that they get open looks. It's like, they miss it, and it's like, well, they're not going to shoot hit every open shot, but the fact that they didn't get a good shot up until then, I don't know, it's so frustrating.
Yeah. I mean,
get to some donos.
I'll thank Ball Don't Lie for the $5 dono. He says that second half was probably the hardest half of basketball that I've ever had to watch. Once LA took Dame out with the double, it was over. Yeah.
Yep, and that's been the recipe to take us out of games. And every once in a while, we get a superhuman performance out of Dame, despite the double teams. He's done that against LA in the past, even though they've given tons of coverage to him. But once again, we have to have some sort of way to combat when he gets trapped.
Ball Don't Lie podcast added on with another $5 dono, and his message adds on to that. He says, we scored 36 points in the second half and couldn't drop 20 points in either quarter. We took probably 5 open shots the entire half. All we take is contested shots. #fire Stotts. Bro, your offensive system, the offensive system does not create open shots for anybody. It doesn't. It doesn't create an open shot at all. The only way we get open shots is if the players create it on their own. Like I said at the start of this, it's a dereliction of duty. Stotts is not coaching this team offensively in my mind. Right? Sure, he might be calling out sets. His sets don't get anybody open shots. And it just ends in ISOs. And him saying, okay, post up Melo, that's not coaching to me. We need less of that. Not specifically with Melo, we just need less isolation in general. Post up Hood. No, we need less of that. So that's not coaching in my mind. He is not coaching this team offensively. And then when you look at things defensively, he never makes an adjustment. He generally runs the same scheme. Every now and then, very, very rarely, but occasionally he'll like toss out his own. That's the most he does coaching-wise defensively. And he's never been a good defensive coach in terms of developing players defensively. So what is he as a defensive coach? Like, bro, what is he doing to help us right now? And you'll have so many people out there excuse it because, oh, it's fine. The guys like him. The players like him, so it's okay. Bro, this isn't Pee-wee basketball. You're not looking for a role model for the players because you got a bunch of 5-year-olds out here that, you know, if they have a coach that they like, that would be good for them and might, you know, encourage them to keep playing basketball. No, this is the damn NBA. This isn't Pee-wee, man. This isn't Hot Shots, whatever you want to call it. This isn't YMCA. I don't know. Like, I don't care that the players like him. There's so much more to coaching than just being friends with the damn players. And it pisses me off that that's used as an excuse for Stotts literally doing nothing, in my mind, to help the team right now.
We have another $5 donation. It's from Critter Langolier. And it says, let's be honest, when Dame retires, Portland basketball is dead. Shame he won't get out of his own way and allow Neo to hire a better coach.
I'm not going to go that far, but...
Yeah, I just want to... because this kind of what I wanted to say to your point. Okay. Stotts, Dame is not sitting there saying, you can never change the coach. Dame is loyal. No matter who the coach is, Dame would not want the responsibility of getting another person fired. Or he says the same thing with trades and personnel. Like, he doesn't want to be responsible for someone losing their job or getting cut or fired. Like, he doesn't want that responsibility. And some people just don't like change. But Dame is such a motivated person that he believes it's his fault. No matter what Stotts does, Dame will always blame, like, well, I could have played better. I could have shot the ball better. I could have propelled my team a little better. And that's a superstar. And so, like, we saw Giannis in Milwaukee get mad when he didn't want them to fire Jason Kidd. So, yeah, you just got to make a decision. Dame will be fine with that. There's no way Dame would go from a couple weeks ago reiterating for the 100th time that he is not leaving Portland and that he will never join a super team and that he will ride and die with Portland forever, to all of a sudden being like, oh no, you switched the coach up, I'm out of here, I want out, like, trade me right now. He will not do that. He is not preventing that from happening. The thing that is preventing it from happening is it's still, as much as I don't want Stotts as the coach, it doesn't make a lot of sense to do it like right now in the middle of a season. And then we win 6 straight. And then of course it is like that. But I promise you, if we do not get past the first round or don't make the playoffs at all, Stotts will not be the coach of this team next year. It's just gotten to the point where he has to get this team to be better. I have no confidence that will happen, but it's not going to happen right now, I don't think, unless we just go on like a huge losing streak or something drastic happens to where it's like he has to go, like he loses the team or something like McMillan did in his last year here. But I just, that's why, like, as much as I want to scream fire Stotts, fire Stotts, fire Stotts, which I do want him gone, like, it's just not going to happen today or whatever. So don't like hold your breath waiting for that tweet from Woj or anything. It's we're kind of stuck with him right now, but that's not Dame's fault. It's just the organization doesn't have like a better option mid-season. You could say they could do what Minnesota did and hire someone from another staff, but that's super rare. And they only had that because that was someone they had interviewed in the past when Saunders got the job. So they already had some experience with him and didn't really need to talk to him a lot to know that he was their guy. Should have probably promoted someone else, but that's another topic.
Yep. Shout out Joel Feister for the $5 dono. He says, Stotts' job is asking whose mom brought the granola bars, and Capri Suns cut him some slack. Yeah, basically, you know, that's what's important, apparently. Yeah, it's...
Well, can I say one other thing? So about the ISO things too. So what's really crazy to me is a lot of the people who are claiming personnel and injuries as the excuse are also the people who say, like, I can't work with Dame and CJ, right? So,
Yeah.
like, what is it? Is, like, Dame and CJ not good enough, or are we struggling because CJ's hurt? And it drives me crazy because, like, people like you mentioned, Dan Meringue and Chad Dewing spent all summer talking about how we need to trade CJ no matter what. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, we can't win because we don't have CJ. It's like, so I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. And we need CJ if we have Stotts as coach. Like, we can't win any other way other than having these guys go crazy.
This is why I haven't been on board the trade CJ train, bro. But apparently having Aaron Gordon would solve all our issues right now, because that's who guys like Dan Meringue want to trade CJ for. That's who, a lot of media guys want to trade CJ for. It's just ridiculous, man. Like, how is Aaron Gordon? You watch this offense tonight, you think Aaron Gordon is going to change things that drastically?
But he's athletic, Tori, and can dunk.
Yeah, because Derek Jones Jr., we utilize his athleticism and dunking ability so well. You know what I mean? Like, oh my goodness, it's so ridiculous. But, we need Gary Trent Jr., to start because he's just a much better fit. How's he a much better fit? Offensively, he's a much worse fit. Now you don't have anybody to, like, take the pressure off of Dame when, Dame doesn't have it going or they're taking him out of the game. And the thing is, what's crazy is all these people are saying that, right? They're saying, well, Dame is the only one who can create a shot for himself or others, right? But before the season, it was, oh, trade CJ so you can start Trent because he's such a better fit. Another contradiction there. The thing is, you could be fine trading CJ and starting Trent if you had an offense that could help generate shots, that wasn't so player reliant on generating decent looks. But our offense is completely player reliant. So you need a guy like CJ, a player who can do that type of stuff.
Yep, and that's the other thing too. Oh, Dame and CJ can never have a good defense together. Well, like, how come they always bring up the fact that Stotts has had a top 10 defense in the past, and that was with Dame and CJ starting, right?
Yep.
And then the people who say that, okay, so what's your excuse? We've been actually worse on defense before this game. I'm not sure what the metrics will say after this game, but we had actually fallen a spot in the rankings without CJ. We're not going in the right direction. So if Trent is the answer to having a bigger guard who can defend or whatever, that's not working either. And it's crazy.
Yep. It's so like. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, because someone said on the Aaron Gordon thing, like, bring him in and we could just have dunk contests between him and Derek Jones and Ant and all this stuff. So the Blazers posted all these pictures of it was Ant and Derek Jones and I forget who else, but they were, like, trying to see who could hit the highest on the backboard. I don't know if you saw that from yesterday, Tori.
Yeah, I did.
And all I'm thinking, looking at these pictures, is you have three guys that can almost touch the top of the backboard, and do they shoot many shots other than 3-pointers? Like, you can't find a way to get these guys cutting towards the hoop and getting them easy buckets? Like, you can't design some ways to utilize this athleticism? You don't want to get out and run and push the pace and the tempo in the second unit and let a guy like Ant show off some of that athleticism? What is the last time we saw Ant, like, get a good dunk or like have an open lane to the hoop? He's always contested or he's shooting threes. Like, we don't get any good shots inside the paint for our athletic players. It's crazy to me.
Yeah. I mean, and what's crazy is people say, oh, that's because we're hurt, right? But when we have two good passers, CJ has been a good passer this year, and Nurkic is a really good passing center. When we have those guys, it's not any different. It's like people have long-term memory loss or something, right? Was it any different at the start of this year with Nurkic and CJ healthy? No, it was the exact same. It was the exact same. It's so obvious that the style of play transcends the personnel, no matter how good of playmakers we have or how bad of playmakers we have. It's so obvious that so many of these issues are not personnel dependent at this point, right? Last year it was, we just need Collins and Nurkic back and then our defense improves. We get Collins and Nurkic back and we're the worst defense in the bubble. You need guys that can pass the ball in order to move players and have ball movement and to be able to run a better offense that's not just based on isolations. But when we have CJ McCollum and Yusuf Nurkic and Damian Lillard all on the court, it's still the exact same, super ISO heavy. When we had those three guys and Evan freaking Turner on the court, it was still the exact same way, and it was still insanely ISO heavy. It's so obvious that these flaws are not personnel based because they don't change no matter who the personnel is. What is the common denominator? The personnel definitely is not the common denominator. What is the one common denominator, Eric? It's Terry Stotts.
Mm-hmm. It absolutely is. I get so frustrated dealing with people on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And so our boy Tommy had a thing today where he was like, this wasn't Tommy, it was someone else. But they basically said, like, okay, so explain the Knicks. If it's personnel, like the Knicks went from one of the worst defensive teams last year, basically the same personnel. How do you explain them getting a new coach and going to one of the top defenses? And this guy, Dan Meringue, said it was because of their pace of play.
For defensive rating, yeah.
Yeah, for defensive rating. It's because they
don't even say why that's wrong. Chat, do you guys realize why that's a terrible take?
Well, they probably read my 800
True.
tweets today going off on
True.
about it.
But what is defensive rating exactly? This is a very basic stat. So the stats guy who, his show when they started labeled, Meringue as the stats guy, right? Very basic stat. It's basically how many points you give up per 100 possessions.
Yep.
So pace doesn't mean anything.
Nope. It takes pace completely out of it. That's the whole point. That's why it used to just be like, how many points per game does your defense give up, right? So then defensive rating was like, okay, that's not a good way to look at it because they're a team like the Knicks or whatever that slow it down and grind it out on offense like Danny says, right? So defensive rating is strictly how many points they give up per 100 possessions.
Yeah, or you can look at it. Yeah, or you can look at it how many points they give up per possession. It's basically it takes that into account. Yeah, it's not points per game.
So you are literally making that up and trying to use an excuse that doesn't even apply to that because defensive rating factors all of that out of the equation. So you don't have to think, oh, this team's a slow it down team, or this team plays like the 7 seconds or less Phoenix Suns from the mid-90s or whatever. You don't have to think about any of that. Defensive rating accounts for the style of play.
Mm-hmm. It'd be totally...
And he's trying to tell people that the reason why the Knicks are good defense wasn't because of coaching or personnel. It was because of the way they play on offense. And that's the dumbest thing I have ever heard. And this guy has his own freaking postgame show with the Blazer Broadcasting Network.
There's a reason we go at him so much. I honestly do not like the guy. Personally, do not like him. It is with like a guy like Chad Doing. It's not like a personal thing. Personally, I think I'd like Chad Doing, right? And like Fentress is like weird and like I don't know, but I've never like interacted with him on a personal level before. I personally do not like Dan Meringue. The dude, I'm not gonna go more into it, but my goodness, I don't know. I don't want to say too much, but I just don't like the dude.
The funny part about this, I had to stick up for my guys because he's like talking down to them while he's saying that, basically telling them they're idiots and stuff, And it's like, no, dude, you're the one being an idiot right now, so shut up. Like, yeah, it's just so ridiculous. He keeps on like quote tweeting people and with a stupid excuse, and then like makes him sound like he's the smartest guy ever, and anyone who responds differently is dumbass. And that's just not what's happening. And these guys just continue to make excuse after excuse, and they won't even answer the questions if it's a legit question. Like, actually heard someone say that they caught Danny Meringue liking a tweet that why don't the Blazers have a plan to attack after a 4-on-3 or whatever, and then Danny has this tweet yesterday too where it says he tagged like Chad Doing and a bunch of other of his buddies and said like, can you believe these guys, they actually think I'm content or whatever and don't think critically or whatever. And it's like, no, you actually don't.
Here's my thing. Okay, so people are asking, do you guys know, like, have you guys known him? Me and Eric knew of Dan Meringue before he started writing for Blazers Edge, right? He went from complete nobody to writing for Blazers Edge to having a show on NBC Sports Northwest to it becoming the post-game show on NBC Sports Northwest. We knew him before he started writing at Blazers Edge, right? I have been, like, insulted or talked down to too many times from him to care to mince words at this point. So that's why I just say what I want about him. Because I personally do not like him whatsoever. And I've tried to be cordial with him. I've tried to be fair with him. Doesn't work. Don't like the guy. That's just how it is. With Chad Doing, it's like our interactions on Twitter haven't been that good, but it's nothing personal, right? I'm sure I could have a conversation with him and it wouldn't be bad. And I don't know if you feel the same way with that, Eric, but like, you know, like Chad just seems like a, I don't know. He seems like an okay guy, right? I obviously don't know him personally, so I don't know. But overall, it's not a personal thing with Chad. With Fentress, like, it's not really that personal. With Meringue, it's different.
Yeah, so with Chad, it's funny for me because my mom's in chat right now, and she actually, this is a few years ago. It was actually our playoff run, right? Mm-hmm. Before Blazers Uprise existed. She used to be a regular listener to, the pre and post game shows and stuff like that. My mom is a season ticket holder, all that stuff. And so she had a chance to meet Chad at a Blazer game, and he was super nice to her. And then actually talked about meeting her on the radio and stuff like that. Like, great guy, right?
Yeah.
But then, like, all of a sudden this year he just starts, like, I don't know, the way he acts on Twitter doesn't seem like the same guy almost, you know what I mean? It's like almost like someone else is like tweeting for him or something, or like he can like hide behind Twitter like it's not like reflective of his true personality or something. So like it's a weird dynamic for me because like I was like thinking he was a cool guy because he was really nice to my mom, but like now I'm like, why are you acting like this on Twitter and stuff? Like, it doesn't.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't know. Like, here's the thing. I am nowhere near as bold on Twitter as I have been in the past. Like, I'm being pretty bold right now. You know what I mean? I'm pretty outspoken, but I am nowhere near as like outspoken and bold as I was on Twitter in the past. And I feel like people would have probably said the same thing about me. It's just like, I don't know. Things got heated, and that's why it's not like a personal thing, because it was just like, I don't know. It's some Twitter stuff just gets dumb and it just gets silly. You know what I mean? And that's just the way Twitter goes. And it's not, with a guy like Chad, it's never been like, I don't like him personally, right? I will cloud his takes, but it's more just based on like basketball arguments and like clouding, his opinions and that type of thing. It's just based on talking about basketball, which isn't a personal thing, right? So that's what it's based on. Yeah, and then we got fake Dan Meringue burner, so I will hide that. But if that was the real Dan Meringue, I invite you to, man. I invite you to, bro.
And he wouldn't. There's no way Dan would.
I know.
Like that, so.
Well, he has a post-game show. Show. Maybe he's in commercial. But But yeah, I would love for him to tweet that at me. Tweet that at me if you're serious, bruh.
I appreciate him upping our viewership instead of his. Like, see, this is full disclosure. I don't know if you're still blocked, but Chad blocked me because before the season, he said that personnel was not an excuse this year. And he kept saying, no matter what happens, there's no excuses this year. There's no excuses, no excuses. And then first sign of trouble, just like Stotts, he bails and starts nothing but excuse after excuse. And I just started calling him out on it. This sounds like an excuse to me. I thought you said no excuses, and he didn't like that. And so that's where I got blocked. I don't know how you got blocked or roped.
I got blocked at the same time. I don't know. And yeah, it's just
but yeah,
just stay consistent with it. I don't know, but like that stuff is not like we take that stuff seriously, but it's not that serious. You know what I mean? We're going back and forth about basketball. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's like, yeah, it seems like to get a little heated and whatnot, but it's still just about basketball. You know what I mean? I'm not like going off Twitter and then working for 30 minutes and being like, oh, Chad doing is blaming personnel again. You know what I mean? Like, I don't take that stuff into my personal life. So it's basically you got two different. You got like the online persona, right, and just arguing about basketball, that type of thing. And then outside of that, people can be completely different. You know what I mean? It's not like a personal thing. So like, I think that's kind of the way it is with Chad, and that's kind of the way it is with me at times. But yeah, so it's not something to read too much into, so to say. It's something to have fun with it. You know, like, I don't know. Like, even though it annoys me, I have fun, calling that type of stuff out. You know what I mean? It's not that serious. Yeah. So to say, but it is still ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like in proper context of just talking about basketball, the excuses are terrible.
And see, a lot of people are new since like the bubble, maybe, or this year, and like this goes back to the beginning of Blazers Uprise. We've been known as those edgy guys who are morons who like think Stotts is a bad coach. Like, can you believe that? And they'd have their little thing, and we actually had several responses from basically all those guys, Casey Holdall, all those guys, like basically saying that they talk about us and they'd know better not to even talk to us because like we're just going to say that Stotts isn't a good coach, and that's just the most ridiculous take ever. And now as we've gone along, here we are, a year and a half, 2 years later, and it's starting to become apparent that a lot of the things we've been talking about, and Tori and I like to always back up our points with what's actually happening on the court, not just surface level crap that doesn't have any effect on what's actually transpiring. And I hope you guys can appreciate that we've tried to keep it real this whole time. And
yeah,
I'd be cool with them, even if they like Stotts. I'd be cool with them.
100%. And there's people on Twitter that I'm cool with that like Stotts, right? Yeah. I'm actually going to do a podcast tomorrow with Brandon Goldner, right? Who constantly kind of, he's a little trolly about, pro Stotts people, but generally, like, me and him used to have some beef, and it was petty. I don't know. It was dumb, but we talked about it, got over it, have been nothing but respectful to each other since, right? And had nothing but good dialogue, even though we disagree. So I can respect that. And I'm going to do a podcast tomorrow with him and kind of talk about that. And it'll be interesting to have an in-person, what should be respectful dialogue with somebody who is like more pro Stotts, and just have an interesting conversation about that. So I will post that link once we have that conversation. I know a lot of you will probably want to listen to it, but yeah, him, Stephen Vaughn, who actually works for the Fifth Quarter Chad Doings post-game radio show. He's been nothing but extremely respectful to me, and and he's a pro Stotts guy, and so there are guys out there who I genuinely like talking. I don't know. For the most part, I like talking to. And sometimes their arguments kind of annoy me a little bit because I think, sometimes the arguments are a little silly and they think my arguments are a little silly. And that's just the way it goes. But generally, it's respectful. So it's not based on if you don't like Stotts, we can't get along. You know what I mean? It's because when we started this channel, you had a lot of people that were just extremely rude, insulting to us. And we became known as those guys. Problem is, we're growing, and we are, driving the conversation, and a lot of people are starting to see some of the things that we see and look at the things the way we look at it and starting to agree. There's still a lot of people out there that disagree. That's fine. There always will be. You know what I mean? It's just like it went from media-wise. It went from everything was pro Stotts, never really breaking down the game to a true level, in my opinion. And then, so there was like a niche for us to fill, and it needed to be filled. You know what I mean? So that's why I, wanted to do that. And I feel like we do a good job filling that niche. So now it's like, everybody has a voice in the community. You know what I mean? And maybe that's why it's more testy. Maybe we've made things more divided. I don't know. We just come on YouTube and share our basketball points and go on Twitter and share our points, and then, dealt with a lot of heat when we started this and fire back. I don't know. That's just the way it is. It's fun. It's enjoyable in a way.
And just think if we were allowed to show,
if we were allowed to show footage, it would be game over. Game over. But we do the best we can with what we're given. If we could show footage, it would be, oh my goodness, you guys. Whew. It would be something else. But yeah, so appreciate you guys' support through all this. Let's go back to talking about this game. Little sidetrack. We're already 50 minutes in. Wow.
People are saying the Dame interview is out.
Okay. Do you guys want to just transition into the Dame interview, and we can kind of go back to this game and maybe talk about some of the things Dame was talking about? We could we could do that. Let's do that. Sounds like a plan. Let me pull it up on YouTube and
James.
Here we go. All right.
How is your ankle? It appeared that you might be limping a little bit in the second half.
I mean, I just pinched the front of it. When I landed on his foot a little bit, and it just kind of, when you jump and you shoot the ball, you expect him to land on the ground. And I just kind of, part of my foot landed on his foot, and then, I just pinched it a little bit in the front. I didn't turn it or nothing. So it was just irritated, but I just got to get treatment. I'll be cool.
Next question.
The way he landed, like I was hoping to see his ankle roll and be like, okay, it's a sprained ankle, but it didn't really look like his ankle rolled, and that made me scared. Were you the same way with that, Eric?
That it didn't seem to move.
Yeah.
It was almost like ESPN, which I was watching. I'm like paused it right at that moment or something. I was like, wait a minute, it didn't roll. Like what's going on? I think it just kind of scared him. Hopefully, sometimes you think it rolled, but it didn't. I'm hoping that's all it was.
Let me get this more centered for all y'all. Let's see here. Just because the people were generally off center, so there we go. Hopefully that looks better. Oh, now it's off center the other way. Great, phenomenal. Figure why not just fix this now? Let's just. It's my OCD kicking in. There we go. That's good enough. All right. Is Stotts' interview on Twitter not on Twitter, on YouTube? Because that's the one we're probably all waiting for.
Obviously, they're a good defensive team, but how are they disrupting you guys tonight?
I mean, I think in the first half we pretty much had our way. I was able to get in the paint, play pretty free. I felt pretty comfortable. In the second half, they just loaded up. They was blitzing, and I didn't really have any space. In that situation, I just my job is to draw the attention of the defense. By coming off screens hard, trying to get downhill, and then make the play out of it. And that's what I did. We just didn't shoot the ball great tonight. We missed some opportunities, and that happens. And when you don't, I guess make them pay for loading up and putting all their attention on the ball, you're gonna have a hard time winning. I think in the second half they just, they just kind of had us stuck. We didn't, and when we did get opportunities, we didn't make them. We didn't take care of the ball. I turned the ball over a few times and allowed them to get out in transition. And that's what they want to be, in transition. And I think to start the game when we kept them in the half court. That's when we was having our best moments of the game, when we made them play in the half court. And in the second half, we came out, kind of slow, turned the ball over. Our offense, the way we played offensively, led to our struggles defensively, because they was able to get in transition a lot more often. So.
Casey Haldall, Trailblazers.com. Go ahead.
What was
Even after
that?
You're after winning 6 straight, you guys lost 4 straight now. How you feel like you guys are any different right now, or is it just competition, or how? I guess how would you categorize what you guys are playing right now, going into 3 games of the break?
I don't think we different. I think the level of competition has been a little bit more stiff. I think.
There you go. There you go. Exactly. For all the people, oh my goodness, we're playing amazing. We won 6 in a row. Dame just said, bruh, the competition has risen. The level of teams they're playing against has risen. And that's the difference. And that's what we were saying, everybody. Oh, why you guys being so negative? They won 6 in a row. It's like, we still see a lot of these flaws, and we're barely beating some bad teams. What happens when we play the good teams?
Mm-hmm. And to his answer to his first question, this is why I truly believe it might be as simple as just needing a fresh set of eyes to come in here and say, no, Dave, you don't have to accept that we just didn't play well in the second half and didn't handle the traps well and all that stuff. Like, this is what we should be doing to counteract that, and we're not doing. You haven't done it in the past, but try this next time, or do this, or here's a game plan to attack that so that doesn't happen next time. But instead, it's just they're just like, well, we didn't make our shots. We got double, we got some good looks, and we just didn't do it. Like he's reflecting what the coach tells him, basically, and that just can't happen anymore. It just can't.
Yep. People are asking where Portlandia is. He's just gone. Let's move on with this interview.
The 3 home games and the 3-game trip that we went on were all, teams in the same boat as us, fighting for a spot in the Western Conference, and a lot of talent, just not the same amount of experience. We were the more experienced team in those games. And we were able to, pull out tight games because of, I think, our experience. And then you fast forward to like the Phoenix game, the Denver game, and then tonight, it was just experience. Their experience is the same as ours, or even further along as a roster. So I think the competition and just the simple fact that it's hard to sustain that level of play. The focus and the mentality, the same energy is hard to sustain that. And I think that's why elite teams are elite teams. Good teams are good teams, and bad teams are bad teams, because either you are able to sustain it and able to, to bring that to every game, or you aren't. So I think for us, we just got to continue to work in that direction of being able to, every time we step on the floor, sustain the same level and not have drop-offs and let-ups.
Somebody ask him if he feels like they've improved in that regard or not.
I think we've done the same, but the level, like I said, the level of competition has been.
Yeah. See. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
How many times over the last few years? Oh, it has to start now. We either need to start, focusing and doing this, or we're not going to make the playoffs. Or if we want that 8 seed, we got to start winning games now. If we want a higher seed or we want home court advantage, it's got to start now. We can't have these lulls or whatever. And then all of them, Dame, CJ, Stotts, Olshey, all said this year it wasn't going to happen. They cannot let it happen, right? Now here we are, how many games into the season? 32 games into the season, in a shortened season. So we're almost halfway through in a few games, and we're still having an issue of lack of focus, not being prepared. Not. I mean, if that's what it takes to be elite, why aren't you doing it? That doesn't make sense. Like that just seems like once again, this is a guy who's letting his coach tell him that it's okay, or there's no way around it. There's nothing we can do. We have injuries, and they make excuses just like the media is doing. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yep, the dialogue's just off, man. Yeah, I would love for a follow-up question kind of based around what you said after.
Yeah, hopefully they do.
I'm not counting on it.
Yeah.
Step up. It's also hard to sustain the level that we have been playing on, but it's part of it, So it's ups and downs, the conditions we play in, and it's a challenge for everybody. You know, so that's what it is. We just got to keep, you know, improving and moving forward. This is a part of it.
Next question is coming from Jason Quick with The Athletic.
Dame, kind of along those lines of what you're just saying, of how grueling this season has been. With that in mind, are you concerned at all about the team looking forward to the break and, you know, having one eye on the break, but losing sight of the 3 games you have this week?
I mean, when I think of our team, I don't think that we would view this situation that way. I think maybe if we, in our last 4 games, if we was 3-1 or, you know, 2-2, then it might cross my mind a little bit more like, man, we might be looking to the break. But I think because of the situation that we've been in, losing 4 straight, I feel like knowing the team, everybody's looking at these 3 games like we got to go into the break strong, you know, take care of home court, and then, you know, plan on coming back healthy after the break. But because of, you know, the 4-game losing streak, I think everybody's mind is going to be focused on we got to take care of home.
Right.
Last question's coming from Aaron Fentress with the Oregonian.
Damian, you guys had 2 days off before this game. You're going to have the rest of this weekend off if we play Monday. That's 4 days off and 5. Will that lead to any kind of more rejuvenation or energy heading into this last week at all? I mean, do you think you guys can draw from that at all?
I mean, they have already had 2 of those 2 days off, and it didn't lead to any extra rejuvenation for this game. So I don't know how the 2 days off before then, the 2 days off after, would lead to them being rejuvenated for March 1st. Like, they didn't look any sort of rejuvenated because of the 2 days off. I don't know. But let's see what Dame says.
Yeah, I think it'll be really helpful. You know, we've regardless of how many days you have off, you know, you're still traveling, you're still in a hotel. I mean, it's just different being on the road. You're on a completely different schedule than you would be at home. So,
I don't like that. Don't make excuses for being on the road. Take care of business, bruh. In a hotel, different schedule, blah, blah, blah. Bruh, every team has to do that on the road. That's part of what it is. Like, I don't like that.
I think it'll help being home and having that time off and being able to go into our facility and use our cold tub and the hot tub and get treatment and just be in our element, you know, being our natural home space. So I think it'll be helpful for us. And
okay, I'm done listening to this interview. Okay, yes, being home helps, obviously. But bro, when you cannot let, you know, different routine and, you know, have to travel and you can't, I don't know. The way he answered that, I don't really like. And their mindset towards road games, I don't really like. They always say, well, if you can just go 500 on the road, you know, that's completely fine, no matter what. Even if they played, you know, 4 bottom feeders, if they go 2-2, you know, we've kind of had a stretch like that earlier this year. They go 2-2, you know, lose a game they had no business losing by blowing a lead and whatnot, and it's always just, well, we went 500, it's completely fine, you know, we got to travel, and our routines are messed up, so, you know, it's just so tough to be on the road. That's not how a contending team thinks.
Mm-hmm.
You don't hear that from contending teams, Eric.
And once again, yeah, it's not a mindset that they said they could afford to have this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
They all said they can't have those lapses that they've had in years past. They have to do it from the jump this year and not ever have that lapse and have the whole season be like they were fighting for their playoff lives. And this is not a team playing like that right now. They're playing like a team who you know, is satisfied with what they're doing. And yeah, I mean, Lakers were in the same position. They've been playing like crap lately too. So they took it upon themselves to, you know, get the win tonight, and they didn't really even play that well. Like, I don't know. It wasn't that difficult for them to win this game, in my opinion.
Yep. You look at the Utah Jazz with how well they're playing. Do you think they go on a road trip right now and like, okay, 500 would be all right. 500 would be pretty good. No, they're like, we should beat every damn team we play against. Because we are the Utah Jazz, we're 26-6, we're playing the best basketball in the league, we should win every game. That's their mindset right now. That's their mindset. You know, they were in a close game with the Heat tonight. Let's see who ended up winning that game. The Heat ended up beating the Jazz today. I bet you they're not. I mean, I don't know, but the thing is, they were 26-6. They're kind of in the position where it's okay if they go into a post-game conference like, yeah, we lost, but it's fine. We're 26-7. You know what I mean? But with us, it'll be like, oh well, you know, if we lose the next day, oh, it's fine. You know, we're still 18-15. We're still above 500. Bruh, we've had a super easy schedule. The Jazz have had the hardest schedule in the league. And they're 26-7 right now, right? I mean, maybe I'm butchering their record a little bit, but let me just look at the standings. Yeah, they're 26-7. I guess the hardest schedule in the league. I guess the easiest schedule in the league were 18-14, right? Two completely different positions, and it's like I'm looking at their roster, man. When healthy, I don't think their roster is all that much better than ours, but if we were healthy, there's no way we're close to that with the way we play basketball. There's no way. There's no chance. And that's with us having a much easier schedule than them. Mm-hmm. It goes down to style of play. They move the ball. They have a really good offensive system. One of Quinn Snyder's philosophies is to not only move the ball, but get players in a position where they're moving into the pass, so they're either stepping up into a shot or they already have momentum, which makes it easier to drive quickly off that and attack. That's one of Quinn Snyder's philosophies. He's the coach of the year right now, easily. Unanimous.
Yeah, no,
you know what I mean?
And here's the thing. I'm trying to figure out how to word this. I'll try to think of it. I just totally lost my train of thought due to reading
good.
chat too.
Yeah. But bro, you look at what they're doing, man. You telling me, okay, their top two players, Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell, pretty good, but I'd say our top two players are better, right? You know, Dame and CJ. You look at the way CJ and Dame have been playing this year. One's getting you 27-5, the other's getting you like 30-8. Bro, imagine saying like in 2010, you know, Brand Roy's career is gonna end, but a decade from now we'll have a guy getting 30-8 and a guy getting 27-5. I'd be like, bro, we must be winning championships. You know what I mean? We have to be a contention team, right? No, you're kind of very middle of the pack, but probably, you know, gonna lose some first round series because they have a horrible style of play. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's crazy. Like, you just look at that, bro. We have the top two players, phenomenal. Third guy, Nurkic. I'd put him up there. You know, when he's playing well, I'd put him up against any of Utah's third guy. I don't know, Mike Conley. I mean, Mike Conley's been having a really good season, but like Nurkic at his peak, and hopefully he can get back there. Like, obviously he wasn't really there to start the season. If he can get back there, he's just as impactful to winning, in my opinion.
See,
we have a lot of depth too. I don't know.
Trade CJ for Joe Ingles, but that's exactly the point we were making earlier. That makes us worse because Ingles isn't as good. I don't know. He might be trolling, but like a trade like that, trading a guy who thrives off of ball movement and running an offense and doing things the right way would come here and just be like, oh my god, I'm in the worst possible position for my skill set right now.
Mm-hmm. Yep. People saying Stotts interview, it's not up. I don't see it. I don't see a Stotts interview, so it's not up for me. But yeah, the Blazers are only one game ahead of 8th, and they don't have the tiebreaker. That's against the Denver Nuggets. They're only 2.5 games ahead of 10th right now. They have one of the hardest second half schedules of any team.
Oh, that just reminded me what I was going to say. We're talking about having one game in 5 days, but do they realize they have like 36 or 37 games in like, what is it?
67 days or something. And it's not as bad as other teams, but still.
Right. Like, this is only going to get worse from here in terms of scheduling, how many times you're on the road, how many back-to-backs you have, how many non-days you don't get to go to your hot tub that you're talking about. So, like, you can't be making those excuses. Yeah,
it's only going to get tougher. It's only going to get harder. Yeah, man. I don't know. I don't see a Stotts interview, so I don't know. I mean, they're probably going to get a lot of dislikes on it if they post it. By the way, like this video, because we've had, about 4 or 5 people that always come in here and dislike everything we're posting lately. So counteract that and leave a like if you enjoy what we do. Would greatly appreciate it. I just saw that like spike. I'd love to see it. But yeah,
Thanks,
I don't know. What do you guys want us to talk about? I don't know. I'm ready for the All-Star break at this point. Okay? Like with the way this team is playing, I'm like ready to just like take a break and kind of like reset mentally. After the All-Star break, should hopefully have CJ back, right? March 11th, he's going to get reevaluated like March 1st or 2nd or something like that. Hopefully he's back. March 11th is our first game after the All-Star break. Hopefully, and then reset and maybe look forward to getting Nurkic back. I don't know when he's going to be back, but maybe with the way he struggles to recover from injuries, I wouldn't be surprised if it's early April. Because he kind of always seems to have a little bit of a setback in recovery from things. I don't know if that's just me basing too much off of his broken leg and having a bit of a setback or a long timetable after that. But like I don't know. It's I don't know, guys. Is there anything you want to talk about specifically? A hot tub sounds good right now.
Blazers app. I don't know if you can play that on.
I'm not gonna play Blazers. App or whatever. But yeah, so.
Yeah, the Giles situation, they have given no updates. He had a calf strain, 6 games ago now, and was in a boot for a while. Like, who knows what's going on there?
Yeah, ridiculous. Where's our update on Harry, man? I don't know.
And why we have enough room to sign a 10-day. If we knew it was going to be out for a while, we could have.
I don't know why we're not using that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one thing with Olsha is like, why aren't we using that 10-day?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I know he's trying everything he can to save the 15th roster spot for the buyout market and for trades or whatever, but it just doesn't make sense right now to not do that.
Yeah.
And then you see like Moses Brown and players like that having monster games in the G League that's going on right now. It's just
I was never really all that high on Moses Brown, but
no,
Justin Patton would have been a
like,
good 10-day potentially. But you got picked up.
We have our open 2-way. Like we could have just brought back Horde and Brown, and we would have had a little depth right now. Like they would have been in our system and known it a little bit. But
yeah, I don't know. I don't really understand. But that's like around the fringes. You know what I mean? Everybody's like blaming Olshey for this roster, bro. You still look at this roster when healthy. You got Dame, CJ, Rocco, Derrick Jones Jr., Nurkic. Really good balanced starting lineup with. Honestly, could play a great style of offense. You got Yusuf Nurkic as a really good passing big, in my opinion, with CJ and Dame working off him, and then you got a cutter like Derrick Jones Jr., a lob target like him, with Rocco, who's been shooting the ball very well in the month of February. Like, offensively, right, should be top 3 offensive team, in the starting lineup, in my opinion, right? Like, Rocco and Derrick Jones Jr. aren't like they're not going to set the world on fire, but they complement the team beautifully if they're used correctly. You know what I mean? Rocco is pretty much used correctly. He just sits out there on the arc and spots up. But Derrick Jones Jr. paired with Nurkic, you remember when like we did some of the stuff with like using Layman as a cutter and Nurkic as a passer? Why didn't we utilize any of that at the start of this year? You know what I mean? It's like we don't even do that anymore. It's gotten worse, and it wasn't that great to begin with, right? So style of play offensively. Defensively, I still think that can be an okay defensive starting lineup. Then off the bench, man, just think about this, right? It's not Olshey's fault Rodney Hood tore his Achilles. Before he tore his Achilles, the dude was insanely efficient and insanely good, and you have him off the bench. If he played like how he did last year, if he never got hurt, dude would be in the running for, and he doesn't shoot a ton, but would be one of the best 6 men in the league. You got Gary Trent Jr., who's a phenomenal draft pick, is going to be one of the better 6 men in the league. You got Enes Kanter, great backup center, one of the best backup centers in the league. You got Nasir Little, who I still think could be could have a contribution to a winning team, right? And you got Melo, who can still have his good moments, and if he isn't, relied on to, if we got him easier buckets, easier shots, he might be more efficient. It's like, you look at this roster all the way down, Harry Giles, still, we're not using him correctly, and he doesn't have any confidence in our system, but he still has a ton of talent. Like, you look at this roster all the way down, I don't know how anybody can be mad at Olshey for this. And it's ridiculous to me, right? Everybody was saying, oh, phenomenal roster, and now they're saying, oh, well, this roster is injured, Olshey is a crap GM. What? Not Stotts' fault. You know what I mean? It's like, dang, you guys thought this roster was good, and then they play under Stotts, and now you think they're worse, and you blame Olshey for that. Interesting. Doesn't make sense to me, but...
Mm-hmm. Doesn't make sense to me either. I'm so sick of the excuses. I'll come at anyone because I see the excuse, especially if it's from a prominent person on Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm just sick of it.
It's just ridiculous, man. And you know what's funny? If Stotts got fired this offseason and we hired a new coach, those people that defended every little thing when it came to Stotts would nitpick that new coach to death.
Yep. I haven't. Obviously, we started the stream right after theirs, but maybe Trevin can answer this, but because I know he saw my post earlier with. I already said what the excuse will be if we lose this game. Tonight, I forgot what I said. It was something about LeBron is just really good, and the Lakers are just too talented, and they're the defending champions, and we're injured and don't have our second and third best player, and how are we supposed to win without that? I haven't seen Twitter yet.
A bunch of losers mentality. Losers mentality. Like, bro, they're missing AD, man. They're missing Anthony Davis. That's as big of a loss as CJ and Nurkic combined, probably. And we're talking about contention. And because we're missing CJ and Nurkic, we just have no chance of hanging with them when they're missing AD and have worse depth than us. It's ridiculous.
Sorry, I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
And this chat, I want your answers as well. I know, obviously, this community is slanted one way, so I know pretty much what the answer will be. But if you expected something, right? Whether it's like at a restaurant or anything, any interaction or service or whatever, sports team that you follow other than the Blazers. If you are saying after almost 10 years that every single year they outperform your expectations, is it time to maybe think that your expectations aren't right to begin with?
Mm-hmm.
At what point do you consider maybe this team is a lot more talented and the personnel is a lot better than some of these people give it credit for, instead of year after year they've just exceeded expectations? Maybe it's your expectations that have been wrong all along. And Tori and I get a lot of crap because we are hard on them or whatever, but we see this team in the first few minutes of this game, that team is in there, and it's possible that they could play like that and be a team that is like Utah right now, or at least like Phoenix, and that is in there. And even with the injuries, I feel like they could still play a better style, and it would lead to that. And then so you make a ton of good points like that, and then it's well, name one coach that could lead this roster to a championship. That's not even what we're saying. But there's a difference between giving them a chance to be the best possible team they could be and basically not letting that happen. And it's crazy to me that that's the argument, is every single year Stotts outperforms his roster based on record. It's no, dude, maybe you just didn't think they were going to be good, but they're actually really talented.
But everybody was saying this team was going to be good at the start of this year. Yeah, all these media guys, oh man, yep. Olshey actually did a really good job this summer. I was wrong, now it's on Stotts. Now they're blaming Olshey again. I understand maybe not being hard on Stotts because they're injured, but how are you going to be hard on Olshey because they're injured? When Olshey's job is to supply the players that Stotts has, and then those players, Stotts doesn't have them because they're injured. And somehow that's Olshey's fault. Like, how can Olshey control that? The only thing he could do is sign a guy to a two-way or a 15th roster spot. That's, like, more meaningful than how Terry Stotts coaches, apparently. You know what I mean? Like, oh, man, if we just, use that 15th roster spot, things would be so much better. No, of course not. So then why is he getting heat when that's literally the only thing he can be criticized on? And it's not meaningful. I don't understand it. I do not understand it. And that's something I'll ask Goldner is why did everybody go from saying Olshey had a great offseason, put together a great roster, to now criticizing him? Because I want to know, because a lot, and I'm not saying like he's criticizing Olshey. I don't know. I don't pay, attention to everything he tweets or anything. But I know a lot of pro Stotts people are back to criticizing Olshey, and I just don't understand it. Don't understand it.
Here we go. Peace and love. I haven't seen him in chat tonight.
I don't even want to read anything that goes. I just don't want to. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on.
Yeah, like it's basically just our personnel sucks. Our personnel sucks. We're injured. That's basically what you just said. So, and we've already basically addressed the people that are saying that. So, it's the same argument. Argument, different day. But I don't know. It's frustrating to just see the team play the offense they do, and I don't know. Like, it's so disappointing. It's so frustrating to see this game in, game out. And it's like Dame could have a phenomenal game. Dame had 35 points tonight. Had a phenomenal first half, and we scored 92. You know what I mean? Like, even when he did his best to carry the team, man, it still doesn't matter. Like, because, you look at the rest of this offense. Let's just go through a stat sheet. Rocco, 0 for 5 from 3. But I don't know if he got a clean look from 3 off this game. Played 40 minutes. My goodness. Play Nas more. Why are you playing Robert Covington 40 minutes? Dame plays 42 minutes tonight, Eric.
He didn't come out in the second half, yeah.
He didn't come out the second half?
Nope.
After he hurt himself in the first half. I thought maybe he rested 3 minutes. I wasn't paying. I don't know. Yikes.
No, he was in at the beginning of the fourth quarter. Yep.
And we still lost by 9 and wasn't really competitive. And Dame played the whole second half after hurting himself. Bro, if overplaying Dame leads to Dame getting a fatigue injury, you guys will see a level of rage towards Terry Stotts that you haven't seen before. Because, my goodness, that's the one way it could get even worse in my eyes for Terry Stotts. Canner missed some bunnies. Sure, if he, is super efficient, maybe this is a different game. But, I don't know. We had a good defensive game, so that's the thing. If we run a offense that gets us good shots, I think we win this game. I think that's what this game came down to. Derrick Jones Jr. has been good. Was 4 for 6. Hit his only 3. Had 2 assists, 2 blocks, a steal. Played decent defense on LeBron during the first half. LeBron got going there, but Jones did his best and had a good game in my opinion. Trent was 8 for 20 from the field, 2 for 11 from 3, 6 for 9 inside the arc. Kind of a backwards game efficiency wise for him, but struggled from the 3-point line. But once again, I don't think he got many good looks. Seemed like the couple of open threes he did get, he knocked down. I know he missed one, but I think both of his made threes were, at least one of them was a wide open look. It's just like, get that guy more wide open looks. I don't know. And some of it was him forcing shots, but it's like when our offense isn't manufacturing better shots than contested threes or driving the paint against 3 defenders anyway, you might as well just take the first contested 3 you get, because you can't manufacture anything better. Carmelo struggled a little bit. Was 2 for 7. Not super efficient night. Rodney Hood struggled as well. Thing is, Carmelo was 2 for 7 from 2. He didn't shoot a 3, but that goes to show you the problems with our offense. Carmelo isn't even getting a 3 off in 20 minutes, right? It's all a bunch of isolation, mid-range, post stuff, and he didn't have it going, but we couldn't manufacture a catch-and-shoot, one single catch-and-shoot 3-point look for him in 20 minutes. That's a problem with the style of play from the offense. That's a problem with the system. Rodney Hood, 2 for 5 from 3, a couple... I don't know how many of those were contested pull-ups out of isolation at the end of the clock, but I think it was at least 2, maybe 3. 3 of his 5. He was 2 for 5 from 3, misses only 2-pointer. Simons only played 6 minutes tonight. It was basically the 6 minutes that Dame didn't play. Was 1 for 2 from the field, 1 for 1 from 3. I don't know why people were hating on him for this game. He did have a couple turnovers, but it's like when he was out there, man, it was like he had to create something out of nothing, and as if he's Dame, and because he couldn't do so, everybody's saying he's trash. Right?
I sure wish we could watch the second unit play like they did in Philadelphia the game Dame didn't play, but instead we just stand around.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I was so mad watching our offense in the second quarter, and that was pretty much when they came back, and you knew it was gonna be tough to win from that point because you knew in the second half the traps were coming, and it was frustrating.
Nasir Little in 12 minutes only got 1 shot. It was a contested 3 that he missed. Because he can't he's not super good at creating on his own yet, so he couldn't get a shot off because that's what it takes. He was a +5 though. He was
he was our only plus, right?
Trent was a +1, Simons was a +1. So yeah, I don't know. It seems like the team the team is more competitive with him in the game, even if he's not shooting the ball or doing much, like, statistically. I don't know if it's because he brings more hustle to the table, goes after rebounds well. He had 3 rebounds in his 12 minutes. That's 9 per 36. He's been solid on the boards this year. I don't know if it's just having defensive guy like that. And I don't know. Just I feel like the team is more competitive with him in the game. Would like to see him play more to really see that, if that's true or not, but he only plays 12 minutes a game, and Rocco, who can be 1 for 8 from the field, 0 for 5 from 3, will play 40. You know what I mean? And Rocco brings a lot defensively, but why 40 and Nas only 12? Play Nas 20 and Rocco 32. 32 minutes is still a lot for Rocco. And get Nas 20 and see if you can generate him some shots and get him going. I don't know, just a thought. But, yeah, so that was the stat lines tonight.
How many minutes did LeBron play?
LeBron played 36 minutes.
Yeah, so there's no reason to have those guys on there longer than LeBron played in a game like this.
I would like to see Nas matched up against LeBron, just see how that goes. He might foul him, but I don't know. It just would be interesting to see, But the thing is, Nas didn't even have Nas did have 2 fouls. I was looking at turnovers. For them, they had 28, 11, 7, 4, and 3 from LeBron. He filled the stat sheet. Dennis Schroeder had 22 points, got to the line 9 times. As a team, the Lakers shot 28 free throws. We only shot 20, but they only made 21 of theirs. We made 18 of ours. That wasn't really the difference maker there. They only shot 26% from 3. They're not a good shooting team. From the field, they only shot 42%. So honestly, we did a decent job defensively, I think. LeBron kind of got his, but as I said, they don't have a lot of depth. Markieff Morris in 22 minutes gives them 4 points on 2 for 8. Marc Gasol on 2 for 7 gives them 8 points in 17 minutes. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope in 25 minutes gives them 5 points on 2 mid shots. Kyle Kuzma gives them 4 points in 23 minutes on 1 for 5. West didn't score in 9 minutes. Taylor Horton-Tucker in 60 minutes got him 4 points. None of these guys, you're, shocked that that's what they did tonight. You know what I mean? They don't have good depth. Right? So, LeBron, that's the thing. LeBron can get his and have a phenomenal game, and they'll still lose because they don't have that good of depth. I don't know. I like our depth better than theirs. And I said that at the beginning of the season, and I still think so now. We did a good job defensively on them. But offensively, that's where we lost this game.
Yep. Did give up a few transition baskets, but those were mostly off of just not even we got stuck on offense and we couldn't figure out a way to pass the ball around or do anything, and that led to turnovers that led to open shots, and
it's just frustrating.
Bad shots that led to long rebounds as well, and it's you'd think if you told me before this game the Lakers are going to score 102 points, we have to win that game. We have to win. It's just,
Yep. So frustrating
real quick,
loss.
is Shaggy Squid? I know his name still pops up, but are you still in here, man?
Why?
Because he was coming at me during the game, and I just want to address something that he said if he's in here, so he stops harassing me about it during games. Yeah, I just checked the Blazers thing. They still haven't posted the Stotts interviews, which means they're not going to.
Yep, they're scared.
Oh yeah, he's still in here. So, first of all, I got 2 people telling me that. Oh, it's all good. I'm just teasing you, Shaggy Squid. 2 people told me that it was someone else's fault on that offensive rebound off the free throw. So Cantor and Melo or Cantor and Nas are on one side on a free throw, and Melo is boxing out Kuzma on the other side. Kuzma goes right around him, and then Cantor's trying to box out his guy. Nas tries to hedge in, and Kuzma goes right around Melo and taps it in. And so Shaggy Squid was blaming
Cantor for that. Of course it was.
And Block Boy was blaming Nas. But I went back and looked at it, and it was 100% Melo in that play, just for the record. Yeah, you can't let a guy like Kyle Kuzma beat you to the spot on an offensive rebound on a free throw. Like, there's no excuse for that. Yeah. But just so we know, and Block Boy was like, "Oh, my bad." But Shaggy Squid said that the LA commentators were blaming Cantor for that, which is not true. But that was just a side note. I want to address, he's saying that Cantor is doing a terrible job on the defensive rebounds. And we've seen some games early in this one, we had trouble. Most of the Lakers' good shots came off of offensive rebounds. Mm-hmm. But see, here's the problem and why it's not necessarily Cantor's fault. When you run drop coverage, you are in between the big you're supposed to be guarding and the ball handler who is driving down the lane. Yes. And when the shot goes up, you are not in the right position to box out your guy. So if that is not on Cantor, that is another drawback of constantly running drop scheme. Unless the ball bounces towards Cantor's side of the hoop, if it bounces towards the side where his guy is at, he cannot physically, like, there's not a center in the league that's not abandoning contesting the shot and going straight for stat padding rebounds that can be in 2 places at once. Mm-hmm. And so this is another reason why I don't like not putting more pressure on the shooter itself, because it could lead to more turnovers, and if you do get turnovers, you get less shots on basket and less chances for offensive rebounds and putbacks.
That's a great point. Yeah, Cantor
is a really good rebounder, and it's just not a case of him just not knowing how to rebound on one end, but being like one of the best in the league on the other end. like that's not what's happening. If he was truly just staying with his guy, he would be fine.
Well, he needs more help over the top, too, in those situations where, he can't get good positioning on his guy and the ball bounces over him and, towards, the side that his guy was on, the rolling big or whatever. You need the guys on the perimeter to pinch down on the big and rebound the rebounds that go over the top. Mm-hmm. And Gary Trent Jr. doesn't do that at all, right? Like, CJ does a better job of doing that. Gary Trent Jr. doesn't do that at all. Melo oftentimes watches. Dame is better than Trent, but a lot, there's times where I'm like, Dame, go help Cantor rebound. Hood's the same. There's so many times where it's like, there's no way for Cantor to get good positioning for the board, and then he gets no help, and the opposing team gets an offensive rebound, and then I see Cantor getting blamed for it. And it's not Cantor's fault.
Yeah, and there's been plenty of times, it didn't really happen in this game, but there's been times where, it's not even Cantor's guy, but there's 4 people in the plate for the Blazers, and one guy from their team, usually a guard or something, runs in and grabs a rebound, and that's usually the guard's fault on those.
Yeah, and as Sam says, Gary's the shortest guy on the court. CJ's shorter than him, and he gets twice as many rebounds. You know what I mean? Let me look up CJ's stats, and then let me compare him to Gary Trent Jr. CJ gets 4 rebounds per 34 minutes of playing time. Gary Trent Jr. gets... Let me search him up here. Gary Trent Jr. gets 2.1 rebounds per 31 minutes of playing time. So CJ almost gets twice as many rebounds as him. That's not. CJ shorter. That's not excusable. And CJ doesn't. I wouldn't say CJ does a great job helping Canner either. But he does twice the job that Gary Trent Jr. does. Gary Trent Jr. doesn't get anything except for uncontested rebounds. It's one of my biggest complaints with him. You know, I don't really care that much about reboundings for guards, but you have to be able to help your big out in certain situations. And, you know, oftentimes it'll lead to maybe you not getting the ball, but, you know, it might just lead to a team rebound. It might lead to, you know, you go over the top and don't let the big get it, and then your big ends up corralling the ball, you know, because you kind of hit it towards the baseline or something. I don't know. Like, there's so many instances where it's like Gary is just watching a shot go up and just lazily, like, looking, and his guy will kind of crash the boards and go by, or, you know, he could help Canner with the big, and he doesn't, and it's disappointing.
Yep.
So, probably going to wrap up this post-game show here. We will be live on Monday next. We got 2 days off. We actually got a legit weekend. So Saturday, Sunday, no streams. Monday we'll have Blazers Uprise Live previewing the game against the Charlotte Hornets that we have later that night. Hopefully we don't lose against them, but with the way we're playing, I wouldn't be shocked if it happens. That would be a bad loss. Anything else you want to talk about with this game, or do you want to sign off?
The Warriors beat them tonight too, so.
The Warriors beat who?
The Hornets.
Yeah. It sucks. I was rooting for the definitely rooting for the Hornets in that one, you know, because the Warriors are on our heels. So, are they tied with us now? I'm getting chills for some reason. I need to heat this room up. Yeah, they're tied with us. They're 19 and 15. We're 18 and 14. They're tied with us. We are tied for 5th, 6th, and 7th with the Spurs and the Warriors. So, yeah. We've probably had an easier schedule with them. And you look at our point differential, -1. We lose, like, our point differential is worse than the Pelicans by almost a point. Our point differential is worse than the Bulls by almost a point. Like, that's not a good sign. It shows we're winning a lot of close games and getting blown out a lot. Like, a lot of our losses were not competitive down the stretch. It's not like we're losing off of, you know, by 3 or 5 points. We've had a couple games like that, but we're winning a lot of close games. You can look at a lot of games that we won off Dame heroics that if Dame doesn't step up and play heroically, we could be sitting at 14 and 18 right now on an easy schedule and looking at a hard schedule for the second half to try and climb out of that hole. Like, we're lucky to be where we are. But the thing is like, it should be better because it's our style of play, honestly. We play a more productive style of basketball. We win more games. It's that simple for me. And I think night in, night out, you see it manifest itself. Tonight, We couldn't get anything going offensively due to just a horrible offensive game. I don't know, and it's not missing shots. So I'll be interesting to see what Stotts says, but it's not just us missing shots. We got terrible shots this game. The sets we ran were terrible, very isolation heavy, and this is the result against good teams that know how to defend, like the Lakers or the Suns or the Nuggets.
Yep.
So last 3 games on this road trip, it's 100 points for us, then 106, then 93.
Not good enough.
That's what happens against good teams, Eric, with the way we play.
And for the record, we called that during the 6-game winning streak and before the season and last year and the year before that and the year before that.
Were we not saying that this was going to happen once we started facing good teams, and everybody saying, you guys are being too negative? No, we were being realistic. And look what reality brought you. Exactly what we were talking about.
I didn't want to lose 4 games in a row to be right. I would rather be on a 10-game win streak right now and being like, oh, you know what?
The thing is, here's the thing. If they won these last 4 games, you wouldn't have been wrong, because the only way they were going to win these 4 games is if they improved their style of play that they played with during the 6-game win streak. Yeah. But the thing is, like Dame said, Dame even admitted it. They're still the same, you know, they're still playing the same way. They're playing better teams now, and it's not working. So, we were 100% right no matter what happened after that, because the only way they were winning these games is if they improved their style of play. And they didn't. And they lost. Like we said they would if they didn't.
Well, the only thing that would have changed is we would have been sitting here saying, look, they finally played a brand of basketball that is conducive to winning against these kind of teams. And instead of that, we're like, okay, so when are they actually going to watch these games and see that this is not working against good teams? I just don't get it.
Yeah. So anyway,
yeah,
that's going to wrap up the stream. Thank you guys for watching. We'll catch you again on Monday. Enjoy a couple days off from the Portland Trail Blazers. Enjoy your weekend ahead. Follow us on Twitter at ToryJonesYT for me, at HoopShock for Eric, at Blazers Uprise YT for the channel's Twitter page. Subscribe to Blazers Uprise Live. We're 23 subscribers away from having 100 over there. Link is at the top of the description below. 1,000, you're right. 1K over there, because that's where our next stream is going to be Monday, going live between 3:30 and 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We will preview that Hornets game and do picks against the spread as usual. So other than that, I don't know. Thank you to everybody who donated tonight. Thank you to all my channel members as well. Hit the join button below if you want to become one. And shout out to all you guys who tuned in with us and show us the support night in, night out. It means the world to us. And this channel wouldn't be anything without you. So with that being said, that's a wrap for this Friday night debacle in LA. Until next time, hope you guys have a good night. As always, peace out. Go Blazers.